Hello everyone, and welcome to another Mondays with Michelle video. This week we'll explore various cemetery websites that can help us discover where those bodies are buried. Find a Grave is a popular source of information, but there are many more options. We'll also look at BillionGraves, Gravestone Photographic Resource, Cemetery Friends, Yorkshire Burials, and Deceased Online. Let's get started. Since I've been delving into a lot of death records lately, I thought I would go over some websites that have useful cemetery or grave information. Some you will be familiar with, some hopefully will be new. So the first one I want to talk about is the BillionGraves website. And I know many of you are probably familiar with this website. This is their homepage. So you can either click the search button up top here, or you can start by just typing in a surname. I'm going to click their search button because it comes up with a few more search fields. So if I type in Renton, for instance, and I could specify a country. So if I type Canada and just click search, and it will show me all of my results. And I can refine the search. I can say I want it to be an exact match versus phonetic. I could put in birth or death years. But one of the things I wanted to point out, the coverage of cemeteries for all of these websites does vary. So I find it helpful to search across multiple sites when I'm looking for a particular person. So in this case, this is my father, Donald Mackenzie Renton, but my grandfather, Arnold Mackenzie Renton, who is buried in a Vancouver cemetery, is not listed on this site. And like any of the websites, if we click on an entry, it does bring up, in this case, it's a pretty poor picture of my father's grave, but it does come up with an image, gives whatever information was on the headstone, and gives a map to the area. Now, something else, if we look at the top menu structure, they do have a blog. They do have information on how to search and information on help, information if you actually want to volunteer to add data to the website. The blog is worth looking at. One of the articles they have in the blog, which I thought was interesting, is what is the difference between BillionGraves and Find a Grave? Now you have to remember this article is written by the BillionGraves blog posts, so I would anticipate they would be more favorably disposed to BillionGraves website. But what they are saying is BillionGraves starts with the photo of the grave and they transcribe that information. So they're saying from a genealogy standpoint, it is more following the standard of proof in that they are starting with evidence. Whereas Find a Grave, which is the next website we will look at, it is now a subsidiary of Ancestry, and you don't necessarily start with a picture of the grave. So if you look at everything you can do, you can choose to upload a memorial, upload photos, transcribe photos. So the point they make in the blog post on BillionGraves is the information you might find on a find a grave cemetery posting is not necessarily going to be tied to the individual who is occupying that grave. So it's kind of like looking at trees on Ancestry. Some of the information is accurate because people have done good research, but there is nothing really to stop someone from uploading information on an individual whose name matches that particular grave, but it turns out is not actually the right individual. And I know some of the members in this group have commented that they have discovered that information uploaded for their ancestors' grave entry in Find a Grave is actually not correct. So the way in which the two websites work and the type of information and how it is loaded up, you need to keep that in mind when you are looking at anything beyond the actual image of the headstone and transcription of the headstone. So if I look at Find a Grave and I do the same thing, I type Renton and I'm going to limit the location to Canada, and I'm going to click search. 18. Let me make it a little bit bigger. This one does have the image of my grandfather's grave. And it's got some additional information that somebody has loaded up, the BC death registration. If I was to look for my father's grave, however, it does have an entry. It doesn't have the photo. So again, the coverage varies. The next site I want to show you, and I think this is one that not everyone might be familiar with. It is called Gravestone Photos. And this is an interesting site. So it's a little bit colorful. If we look at this first section, grave monument directories are available for the following countries. And we can look at a list of all countries. So again, notice the coverage. So for all of Canada, they only have 54 cemeteries. So I'm probably not going to find a lot of my Canadian ancestors on this particular website, whereas England has 4,594 cemeteries, and it gives the number of graves and the number of names. So if I say we'll focus on England, I can drill down and say, just show me the cemeteries for Yorkshire. And this is showing all of the cemeteries. So I can actually go in by cemetery and look at all of the entries. Or I can now do a search for just that cemetery for a particular surname. But let's go back and do a slightly different search. So I'm going to go back to the home menu. I'm going to say, let's limit it to England. And I'm going to search in Yorkshire. And I'm going to look for Rentons. And what it will do is show me the list of entries, but it will only display the first 25. I do, however, have the option to look at subsequent pages because it's telling me here there are 219 Rentons, and it is defaulting to sort everything alphabetically. So if I know I'm looking for James Renton, I would go to this particular page that has Harold Ferdinand Renton as the first entry on the page, because the next page is already into Jesse. So if I want James, he's going to be somewhere on this page. And here are all the James entries that they have. Now, clicking on any of these items that are clickable links will give me more information. So if I click on either the first name or the surname, it will take me into the details of that particular entry. So it's telling me that the particular James I typed on isn't the first name listed on the monument. So that could be useful information. It tells me when he was buried, his age, and anything that they have calculated is in red. So they took his age, they took the burial date, and so they have a calculated birth year, and it gives the grave number. Now, if I return back just using the back arrow, and I look at that entry, this is the grave number. And if I click on this particular item, I get all of the recorded entries for that grave. So I can now see the other people buried in that same plot. And I find on this website, it is called Gravestone Photos. There usually is a photo. This is just a thumbnail. So if you are interested in the photo of the grave, you would just request a free image and they will send you the higher quality, larger version. Because if you try to enlarge this thumbnail, it basically becomes unreadable. But as you can see, this can be very useful for finding out who else is part of that same family, the ability to look at the grave number. So that's the Gravestone Photos website. As I said, I find I go in here quite frequently. Ancestry will often have links to both the Gravestone Photos website and Find a Grave website in their collection records when you do record searches. Now, the next website I wanted to show you is this National Federation of Cemetery Friends. And one of the interesting things about this organization, this is like an umbrella organization for all these volunteer groups who do work to help maintain the cemeteries. Many of them transcribe the different headstones, the burials. So this website can be very useful. You notice there is a member link and an associates link. If you click the member link, these are all of the registered friends of, and then the particular cemetery. And if we look, for example, in North Yorkshire, we've got Friends of York Cemetery, Friends of Redcar. So this can be another way of finding organizations or groups that may be able to help you locate where your ancestor is buried. So I took a look at this particular website, and one of the things I noticed, if you scroll down, they have grave finding. It says they have a database of everyone buried or cremated in the cemetery. If you think your loved one was laid to rest, get in touch. They also give guided tours. And one of the groups I looked at, they said they will do guided virtual tours, which would be fabulous to be able to have kind of a Zoom-based or virtual tour to actually see where your ancestor's grave was. So that is another website that you may find of interest. One of my favorite websites for Yorkshire cemeteries, burials is this particular one. They used to be called Yorkshire Indexers, but the website is yorkshireburials.uk. And you can either look at the projects they have going on or the online records. So we're going to go into their online records, and I can go into it from up here. And this gives you some background information. If we enter the database, and I'll just log myself in, you get something that looks like this. So if we want to take a look at burials in the municipal cemeteries, you come to a screen. This is basically their detail or search screen. And as you can see, those other categories that were listed on the previous page, they're all here just in text form. So to start out, all I'm going to do is search by surname. I'll type in Renton. It is confirming to me that I am searching just in the municipal burial section. And it shows me this spreadsheet-like display of all of the Rentons. And the nice thing is all of these headings are clickable links that allow you to sort the data by that criteria. So for instance, I could sort everything by birth year. I could sort by first name. So you can only sort by one category at a time. But if I wanted to see just John Renton on the left here, I can scroll down and I can say, give me John, and I'll put Renton in. And click the search button down here. And now it's showing me all the individuals that match that criteria that I selected on the left here. So to see a particular entry, all I would do is click on this line, and we now have far more information because in many cases, they have also put in the information from the actual burial registers. So in this case, we are getting the entry number from the burial register. We're getting the name of the person, where they lived, when the burial took place. And in this case, the burial register also had the death date. It gives the cause of death, their age, what their occupation was. It will also give, in many cases, the name of the spouse. Here it's giving birth year, birthplace, the grave number, and the page and register that the information was obtained from. So that's all really useful information. And just like the previous entry, just like the previous website I showed you, I like to sort by grave number, because if I now go in to one of these entries, let's see, this is a good one. If I look at the John William entry and I scroll down, if there are multiple entries for that grave, you will see this Find People in Grave button. And if I click that, it is now showing me everyone in that grave. That is a really handy feature, giving you the summary of all the people that share that grave. And we can do the same thing for nonconformist burials. So in this case, it's sorting in order by the cemetery. I can come down here and I can say, give me the Adel Quaker burial ground. And now I'm looking at everything for Adel, and it will be the same situation. Click on an entry to see the details. Find the other people in the grave. In this case, there is only the one person. And the other information that is available on this website, if I scroll up here, we've looked at municipal burials, nonconformist. We can also look at parish burials. And again, if I put in Renton, it is searching only through parish burials this time. My display is the same. I can filter it by adding in information. I could also look at just inscriptions or an inscription index and find all the inscriptions that have been recorded for Renton, which there aren't any. The other major area to look at is gallery, because this is where they have the headstone images. So if I type in Renton and I go down and I'm going to type in, let's see, let's type in the name. Let's type in John Renton. Okay. And if I scroll down, and I'm going to look at Leeds and District, and their cemetery was Bermontoff, I believe. Let me see. Nope. I think the one I want is New Wortley. And let's search. Let me take that off. That's the one. This is my ancestor's grave, and I was thrilled when I saw that there was a picture of the headstone or the monument. Unfortunately, the images are a bit difficult to read, and they haven't actually uploaded the inscription, but what it did confirm to me, if I look at the details of the grave, it did confirm who else was memorialized on this particular headstone or on this particular monument. So again, I find this particular website is one that I go to quite frequently when I am looking for burial information, graves, headstones for my Yorkshire ancestors. So that's a website you might find interesting. They also do have maps of some of the cemeteries, which is handy. And if the cemetery you're looking for, if the map is not listed here, you can email them from the homepage. There are links to email them, and I have seen them reply back that they will load the map up. So that can be a useful resource. The last website I want to show you, this one is a paid website, but I thought it was worth showing it because there is a lot of information you can get without actually paying any money. So you can set up an account for free. This is a kind of pay-as-you-go or subscription-based website. So you can purchase vouchers, or you can sign up for an annual subscription. And to give you an idea, for a burial register scan, it's £2. For a transcribed entry, it's £2. For grave details, image of a grave memorial. So they break out the pricing for each item. But where I have found this website was useful was I can type in the surname, click search, and it will show me when they were buried and where. So especially for my London-based ancestors, trying to figure out which of the many cemeteries they might be in, this is helpful in that it at least will tell me that someone of that name was buried on that date in Kensington and Chelsea. And if I don't want to pay deceased online for copies of the transcripts, if I have a good idea where they were buried, I may be able to get the copy of the burial image through Family Search or through one of the societies, the genealogy societies that covers that area. So it is worth keeping this website in mind. I find they're adding to their coverage all the time. And if you click on the coverage links, it actually shows all of the cemeteries. So that was this coverage menu option. It will tell you which cemeteries and how many names have been uploaded into this website so that you can get a good idea as to whether your ancestor might be listed in those records. They do have a blog for the website, and this one does have a Facebook page as well. So again, those are some other useful resources when you are looking for your ancestors' graves. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. Don't forget to download the handout. You'll find the link in the video description at the bottom of your screen. You may have to click more to see the handout links. Thanks for watching.